Hello and welcome back to my craft room. Well, at last I have finished the hand stitching on my final Maggie Morris piece. I'll give you a closer look in a minute, and I'm ready to finish it off and turn it into what I'm calling a gather up grab and go bag. Excuse the state of me. I haven't even brushed my hair today. How gross am I? I'm sitting in my pyjamas. It's a hot day. Pyjamas are just comfortable, aren't they? And yeah, I'm not going anywhere. Nobody's coming here. Nobody's going to see me except you guys. And you've seen it all before. Anyway, so I am now all ready for the last stages of this final Maggie Morris project. What a month it has been. We had to celebrate the end of this adventure on the so by the time this goes out, this will be this Saturday coming, the 2nd of August, will be our monthly Saturday night live. Now we've stopped doing regular giveaways like we used to get a bit manic, but I did say that I would do occasional giveaways kind of related to projects that I'm working on, and this is a good example because I have some beautiful things to give away. Some original pieces of work actually made by Maggie herself, and some packs of fabrics, including the fabric I used to make this piece, and some of the fabrics that I used, the same fabrics that I used to create this scroll. Again, I'll give you a closer look in a minute. We'll have a kind of a roundup of everything that we've been looking at, the things that I've made, and I will tell you how to enter that giveaway if you would like to. The draw for the giveaway will be done on Saturday. I don't want my regular people to miss out if they're not going to be able to make it for the live, so I'll let you know how you can enter in a bit. But first things first, let's have a look at how I've got on with this. I'm so excited. Hours and hours and hours, and I almost finished up my stash of perlé threads. I'm going to have to get hold of some more. Not just yet, going to have to wait a little while, but yeah, it'd be a nice excuse to treat myself to some of them maybe next month. Really enjoyed using them, and definitely perlé threads do give that kind of Maggie feel, I think, better than anything else. Now let me zoom in as much as I can here. I already am zoomed in as much as I can. Okay, get my mug out of the way. Okay, so what I'm going to do is work my way around and show you what I've done with all of these. I will link to, I've now got the Maggie Morris movement playlist. It wasn't me that coined that term, it was somebody else, but I thought it's a good word for it. We've had some lovely words come out. Maggie-licious, Magnificent are my favourites, and the Maggie Morris movement. So there's a playlist, I'll link to it so you can see. I've done previous videos on making a scroll, working on, there's a couple doing the kind of what I call the stitch doodling into this piece. There's a look at all the lovely pieces that Maggie sent me a year or two ago. I'm making spools to hold the scrolls. There's all sorts in that playlist, so I will link to that and you can catch up if you've missed them. Anyway, so I haven't done any stitches here that are any more complicated than the ones I've already shown. Really, it's just combining simple stitches to create some of these effects. So I'm going to kind of work my way around this piece. So around here it's just back stitching around the outlines, chain stitching on these little space hopper fruit on their ears here. Seed stitching in there, seed stitching in the background, and either picking a thread that kind of it's maybe like a deeper or a lighter shade of the colour that's there, or a contrast, depending on what I think looks good at the time. Really, I think one of the only stitches I didn't show was this, what I call a leaf stitch. I don't know what it's called really. I have shown it in previous videos, not in this series but previously. So you start with your stitch at the tip of the leaf. Let's get a pin and show you. Start with your stitch at the tip of the leaf there, come down to about halfway down the leaf shape, and then you come out, you go back up to the top left, come out there and go back down again just below where you went back down the last time. then you go up and come out to the right and go down just below, then you go back to the left and down, to the right and down, and it forms this line down the centre, which has come out better sometimes than others for me. So it didn't work so well there, but it still had a nice effect. Yeah, so it was a good way. That's a better example. Yeah, that's a good way to practice that stitch, and lots of others actually. I think my stitching got a little bit more uniform by the end. So here we've got that's just blanket stitch, chain stitch, some running stitch. This bit here, I think I'll use my letter opener, that might work. Yeah. So this bit along here, I did the pink blanket stitch following that line, and then I did just a line of back stitch along it. These are all kind of house shapes. I just did straight stitches around the little roof bit, then I did 3 straight stitches that way and 1 across. These are just big cross stitches. These are chain stitches. I just went in under the house and up again, and another chain stitch under the house. Yeah, so it's just stitching into the pan that's there. I did it a bit different on this side where I just did a cross going the other way. I think I like that effect better than this one, but they're both all right. More blanket, chain stitch, running stitch. This side I've done a bit different, so I did the pink blanket stitch, and then I did a green blanket stitch that kind of, where the legs are facing in the opposite direction, so they kind of interlock. Quite liked that effect, enjoyed that. This one I just did blanket stitches around the hearts and then straight stitching in between to kind of make them stand out. That's something that I saw Maggie did a few times. I really liked that. Outlined the main shapes with chain stitch as well. This one I showed last time too. Most of this I've shown in the last couple of videos. This was my starting point, my fig onion. There was this, I really enjoyed this effect that I hadn't tried before, where you've got the chain stitch. So with this I just made the chain stitch wider to fill the shape and then narrowed it back in again. So I did show that in one of the previous videos. French knots, straight stitch and chain stitch, that's all that's on there. Loved this shape. This was a Y stitch or fly stitch. Never know which is which. Just following the outlines of these leaves, and then back stitch. And these were, I just went over and over and over the shapes. It sort of started off as little stars and then got a bit messy, but they just made these lovely knobbly shapes which feel really nice. Back stitch, filled in the sections with different little simple stitches. Quite enjoyed doing this. You can see it well here, where you do one chain stitch and then another one around the outside of it and another one around the outside of it. I really enjoyed that. I did that quite a few times throughout this piece. It was a really good example, a good opportunity rather to play with lots of different stitches and try using them in different ways. This is just blanket stitch, but it's followed it was like a black and white border. Cross stitch and then a cross going the other way, French knots, back stitch. It's all such simple stuff. With these leaves I just did on the arches, I did some back stitch, some chain stitch, great big crosses here. This one I added in some seed stitching as well down there for a bit of extra texture, and I did some satin stitch in here. I think I intended to go back and do that on this part of the leaf, but I forgot. I just remembered something else I forgot as well. I meant to go back and fill in the rest of this like that, and I've completely forgotten. I'm going to have to do that later because it just looks wrong. Lazy daisies around here, and all of the, if that's all really different variations on chain stitch, because the lazy daisies chain along here and then little detached chains for the leaves. This is just a blanket stitch with the legs extended to fit the scallop shape, which I've done in chain. This is the border that I showed how to do this last time, where you do line of running stitch on, you do a line and running stitch on either side, and then you weave a contrasting thread in and out, and then you go back the other way, and you just create this little fun little border. And I started putting French knots in every other one, but forgot to continue that. Lots and lots of, where I didn't do anything else, I just covered the whole lot with just running stitch. I think you kind of need to pretty much stitch all over it, because as you stitch it does kind of bring the fabric in. I reckon it probably shrinks the fabric down about 5% or something, I guess. So if you leave a bit like this, it's kind of, it just doesn't look right. It needs to, it's not sitting flat with everything else because that bit isn't stitched. So I will have to do that, which is going to be a little bit awkward once I've put this back together. So I'm not sure what I'll do there, but I'll get around it somehow. Anyway, where did I get to? I've gone all over the place now. Blanket stitches and all done in circles there with French knots in the middle. This is a blanket stitch, and again I've extended it there to fit that shape. So it's done this funny thing here, which I quite like. Lots and lots of, I did do some areas with just plain running stitch on, just like canter stitching, which again is something that Maggie does do. You've got to have some areas where it's kind of just more. I went wrong with my little kind of net stitching here, but in the end I like how it turned out. And since I filmed last time, I've actually added a little tiny cross of a thicker pink thread across all the intersections. I think that really gave it that little pop of colour it needed. More fly stitch, Y stitch, whatever it is here, filling those little sections. Blanket stitch around each section, blanket stitch here. More lazy daisies. These are all just following the pattern that's in the fabric. There's a bit I've forgotten to finish there, look. See, I haven't actually finished. I was going to do more of this as well. I'm going to have to carry on now because I need this video to go out on Monday, actually. Yeah, because I want to be able to tell you about the giveaway and everything, which is happening on Saturday. So as little pistol stitches here, we do the sort of straight stitch with a French knot on the end. And more chain. I think I put little chains in between there as well. But the kind of the anchoring stitch at the end of the chain, I made that quite long. You can see quite well in that one. Just to change the shape of the stitch a bit. It was something that Maggie does. I noticed that she'll take a simple stitch and just play with it to see what else she can do with it. There's some more of those, you know, do one chain and another one run the outside and another one run the outside again. And in a variegated thread like that, it's really interesting. Half lazy daisies there with a chain, scallop. Pistol stitches there. French knots, love the feel of them. I think I meant to go back in and do some more French knots there, but that's going to be quite near the edge, so I won't worry about that. Again, you can see it's just French knots and blanket stitch, creating that border. Seed stitches here in a contrasting colour. I'm really just showing all of this because I know quite a few people now have managed to get hold of this fabric. So if, like me, you're looking at an area and thinking, now what shall I do in this area? I've had the benefit of Maggie's pieces to look at, so I'm trying to share that experience with you as best I can. So if you've got the fabric and you're a bit stuck for what to do in a certain section, you can look at this and think, aha, yes, I'll try that. So I outlined these strawberries with just a back stitch. Did some more of the kind of multiple chain stitches there. So each one of those little sections has got 2 chain stitches, one inside the other. So I'll do the inside one first, then the outside one. Really enjoyed that, you can see, because they popped up all over the place. And then I seed stitched around the strawberries, and I like how kind of what that's done is let the strawberries kind of stand out, like little, almost, they've got a bit of dimension to them. Quite enjoy that effect. Bigger strawberries here, just some straight stitching in between. More of these multiple chain stitches. Really love how this border turned out. So I showed the beginnings of that last time, and I showed how I started off doing this like a back stitch, and then between each one of the scallops I went up and did the detached chain, and then went back into the back stitch again. French knots in the middle of each scallop, and then I just did the way I did the little green stitch around the scallop shape. It was almost like, it's like a variation of a chain stitch, really. It's like a chain stitch with a very wide base, if that makes sense. And then the anchoring stitch for each chain is up the top here. Hopefully you can see. So I formed them just like chain stitches, just with a wider base. Same here. Same with these petals, I did the same thing. That is just a chain stitch, but instead of these two ends here and here being close together, they're wide apart. Hopefully that's making sense, is it? Oh, look, I keep seeing bits I've missed. So I think I did intend this again, one inside the other, chains, detached chains there. I meant to do that here as well. I've missed one. Yes, I need to do the rest of this section. That was just straight stitching there. Kind of wished I'd done more of a limey green, more of the lime green in there, so I might go into lime green now. Lots of French knots in here, all different bright colours. What I tended to do was just when I just got a fairly small end of thread from another section, I would come and use it here to make a couple of French knots rather than waste it. That worked really well. This is a good example of where I could have followed all the scallops in this part of the pattern, but I thought, no, let's just have a bit of a rest and just do straight stitches across. More of this. I'd really got into doing these kind of multiple chain stitches by this stage, and so that's what I've done for the inside part of this flower. So I start off, you can see, so on that one you can see I started off with that smallest chain, then did a bigger one around the outside, then I did more of that open base kind of chain stitch that I was talking about just now, and did 3 of them to fill in the rest of the petal shape, and it was in that variegated yellow thread. I really enjoyed doing that. I think I did intend to go back and stitch these fanned out leaves. I think it's like Maggie said to me herself, it's really hard to know when to start. I could still have spent another day stitching on this, definitely. I could have filled in more of this. I definitely could have done that part. Yeah, you know, you could go on and on and on. I had to stop at the end. I liked it doing this kind of reverse blanket stitch around the outside, almost like an eyelet stitch around the outside there. I enjoyed that. More of these little, you know, do a cross, then do a cross in the other, you know, at 90 degrees, to do these little kind of star stitches and make that all stand out. That's just a blanket stitch with a sort of varying the length of the leg of the stitch to fit the pattern that was there. That's a back stitch that I've whipped in a contrast colour to get that sort of candy cane effect. This is another variation on blanket stitch, so it only looks like that because I've followed the shape of that red and black border with my blanket stitch. Pistol stitches here. This is just a variation on a Y stitch where I've just made that the sort of finishing leg of it longer. Blanket stitch, just a simple cross stitch in there. Another blanket stitch with the alternating length of legs. Blanket stitched around the hearts there. This is actually a variation on the Y stitch as well, these bits that I've done here and here. So I've started with a detached chain, then I've gone into a Y stitch for the rest of that shape. These are just little lazy daisy stitches, and then I've put another stitch across the middle to fill in the petal, French knot in the middle, in the centre, and then paired seed stitches all around, leaving the yellow hearts to stand out. And then I finished up here with a couple of rows of chain, blanket stitch, back stitch there, and then just some running stitch to finish that bit off. Yeah, I need to, that I've just followed with a chain stitch, blanket stitch. I think I was in a bit of hurry by this stage, but I really want to go back and finish that now. Okay, I think I've missed a bit there. Here, I've just missed this bit. This was just a little, I did 3 stitches right across the shape in the pattern, and then I went back through with a contrasting colour and bundled them together and anchored them down. And those are just detached chains in between. Right, now I really think I've gone through everything. Forgot the eyelashes. I did show them last time though. Just obviously a blanket stitch, chain stitch in the middle, and this is just follow with a blanket stitch. Lazy daisies. Yeah, really happy with that. And I was delighted this morning when I went to pick up this piece and I had it there in the basket with Maggie's 2 pieces, and I had to just double check to make sure I'd picked up the right one. So that was a win for me. I was delighted. When you look closely, Maggie's stitching is so much better, and there's still just a certain Maggie something that I haven't quite caught, I feel. But yeah, I have enjoyed every minute of doing this, and I've just spotted another bit I haven't finished. Look, I've got a chain stitched border around there. Sorry, my voice is going now, and I haven't completed it all the way down. So I've got a few little bits I'm going to want to finish here, which is a bit frustrating really, but never mind. I think I need to finish this bag. So the next thing I'm going to do is just cut this surplus off of here to get my nice round shape. I'm going to pull the camera out a bit, and then we'll start putting the final bag together. I'm not using my best scissors for cutting this wadding, batting, whatever you want to call it. Right, I'm going to finish trimming this, and I've got a piece to line it with. I thought about lining it with some of the same fabric but just not stitched into, but in the end I found this piece which I think will set it off nicely. Like, it's just about big enough to line this with. So basically I need a circle the same size. So that will be the inside of my bag, and then I need to make the kind of channel for the drawstrings. So I picked this out because I thought it's pretty much the same colour as that bit in the middle, or certainly it's near enough. It'll look nice on the inside, and I think it will go really nicely with the outside as well. So what I'm going to do now is stop filming for a minute, get this circle cut to match this one, and I'm going to cut my channels, but I'll show you in a minute what measurements you need for the channels. Okay, I've trimmed off all that wadding. You can see my circle isn't perfect, but I'm not gonna angst over that. I think it will work out fine. So to get the measurement for the casing that will hold the drawstring to go all the way around the outside, we need to know what the circumference of the circle is. And the easiest way, I think, to do that, fold the circle in half, get the diameter. So I'm not just going to give you a measurement because your circle might be a different size, so whatever size your circle is, fold it in half, get the diameter, and we're going to use pi formula to work out the circumference from this. So whatever that diameter of the circle is, multiply it by 3.14. I'm erring on the generous side and calling that 55 centimetres. So I'm going to go 55, and I'm going to multiply it by 3.14, and then I'm going to actually divide that by 2 because I want my casing to be in 2 pieces. So if I now divide that by 2, that gives me 86.35 in my case. Yours might be different. So I'm going to round that up, call it 87, and that will take me all the way around half of my circle. So we just like double check that. Let's go to 87 here. You can always do this, just double check, measure twice, cut once, as they say. So there's 87. Hopefully this will go about halfway around my circle, and there we are, as if by magic. Isn't that amazing? Love it when mathematical now if Sue Matthews, 00 Sue, is watching this, she'll be impressed with my mathematical formula because she used to be a maths teacher. Do I get a tick for that, Sue? So yeah, I'm going to cut my casing in 2 pieces. That came to 86.35, rounding it up to 87, and then let's call it 90. That will give me an extra 3 centimetres. So 1.5 centimetres on each end to turn a little hem under, which is about right. So I would say for each of the casings that you're going to cut, the strips you're going to cut to make this casing, you need to allow about 3 centimetres, 1.5 centimetres on each end. So I'm going to cut both my pieces now at 90 centimetres. Let's jot that down so I don't forget. So the fabric that I want to use isn't that long. So I'm going to cut 2 strips and stitch 2 strips together to make it long enough. I will need to get 4 strips all together because I've got 2 halves. So I'm going to just use this piece that I've got. I think I'm going to cut my strips at that width. By the time that's been folded over and allowing for seam allowances, that'll leave just about the right amount as a casing to run my cord or ribbon through. So just to let you know what size I'm cutting it, that's going to be 6 centimetres wide. So I'm going to cut those pieces now. I need to get my craft iron out and my sewing machine set up, and I need to cut this circle exactly the same as that circle, and then I'm all ready to sew. So I'll be back then and show you what I'm up to. Cut my lengths. It looks like I've used a really stupid colour thread, but I actually just decided to use a rainbow colour thread. Sewing machine thread, so I don't know if that was a wise choice, but hey ho, everything else is rainbow coloured. It's hardly going to notice. So yeah, where I've had to join together here, I've kind of top stitched it on the front so that hopefully I won't have too much problem threading the cord through in a minute. I'm going to trim off even a little bit more of that. Yeah, so that's the only reason I've done that. And then I've turned over the sort of roughly 1.5 centimetres that I'd left, so I'd allowed extra, turned that over at either end of both strips, and then I've folded it in half lengthways and given it a press. So I've got 2 pieces like this all ready to go. That one needs a bit more pressed down there. Okay, so they're ready to go. Then I came to cut my circular piece and it actually wasn't quite big enough, so I've stuck on the end 2 extra little pieces to fill in the gap, which again I don't think, once it's all put together, I don't think that's really going to show. It looks a bit naff at the moment, but I think it'll be alright. So next thing to do is I'm going to fold this in half again, and I'm going to cut a little notch at each side, just there, just one there and one there. Now it's not cut on the bias or anything, so it's not going to be too keen to go around a curve, but that's okay. And I think it will tend to kind of stand up a little bit, but again that'll be alright because of the way the bag's going to work. That'll almost be an advantage. You'll see what I mean in a minute, hopefully. So I'm going to go around and pin this and then tack it quite close to the edge inside of the seam allowance. So my seam allowance is going to be about 1 centimetre. I will tack this about 1/2 centimetre so that the tacking won't show in a minute. So I'll do that, and I'll tack both these pieces on all the way around. There we go. I've tacked this all around, just kind of inside the seam allowance. I got a kind of coordinating thread just in case it ends up showing there. It won't bug me. Kind of hoping that for the drawstring bit I can use some of this sari ribbon because I love the colours. Just need to put the lining on top, put them face to face, and the casing will get sandwiched between the two. When it turns out, like I said, it's going to want to kind of just sit up slightly like that, but that's not going to be a bad thing. That will actually be a good thing, really. So now same thing again, I'm going to go around, pin these together, but this time I'm going to machine it. I'll do about a centimetre seam allowance all the way around, just leaving an opening, just a small opening, just about that much, just enough for me to get my hand in and pull everything through. Right, I've stitched all around there. I don't think I've done a fabulous job of it. It's not the smoothest line ever, but I'm hoping it'll all work out. When I've turned it through and pressed it, it's all, all finished up. I've left myself a little opening, which I've now realised probably isn't quite big enough, but we'll give it a go. And it might be that when I turn it through, I will end up having to turn it back again and trim these edges down a bit, and or do little clips into just just not quite to the stitching all the way around. But that seems like a bit of chore, so I'm going to turn it all through, see how it looks, and see if I can get away without having to do that. Otherwise I'll let you know. Yeah, I've definitely made this little opening too small, so I'll have to open that up a little bit, I think. Turn all that through this little hole. Okay, so it's going to take me a minute. Right, I think it all went together okay. I didn't bother to turn it back out and trim any more off. It's not perfect, but I don't think it needs to be for my purposes. Where that little opening was that I left, I can't even find it. I think it might have been here. I just like pressed the edges under on both sides and ladder stitched them to the casing, which wasn't too tricky. So now all I need to do is thread my, so where the two lengths of casing join. Oh, I keep finding little ends. I've got these little openings so that where I can put the drawstring through. So that's all I need to do. And I've seen these bags done with like a flap over as well, which I don't think I've got time to do now because I need to finish this video now, but I think I will do it. Well, that was a bit of a battle. I gave up on the silk ribbon because there just wasn't room to get both thicknesses of it through comfortably, and I ended up using some of this, which I've got left over from stitch kit box from a couple of months ago when we were doing macrame, and this is ideal because it's nice and strong. I think it could probably do with being a little bit thinner for ease of pulling it up, but I think it'll be fine. I can always change it if I decide I don't want to. I haven't got time now to do the flap that goes over, but I think what I'll do is carry on and do that off camera, and I'll come back and show you another time, or perhaps on the Whip and Waffle Wednesdays. So the idea is you can spread the whole bag out like this, throw all your bits and pieces you want to take with you into it, whatever you're taking downstairs to work on, you know, whatever it might be, and then you just pull on. So one of the drawstrings started at this opening and went all the way around and back out to here, and the other one started at this opening and went all the way around and back out to here, and then knot them together. And I think I'll finish these off nicely and find some nice colourful beads to put on the end as well. I think that'd be really fun. But as I keep saying, I really need to get this video finished up now. So then the idea is that once you've got everything in there, you just pull on both drawstrings. Oops, part of that outside, like this, and the whole lot is pulled up into this cute little pouch. How sweet is that? And if you want to do the flap over piece, which would like kind of make it fully closed as well, looks like a little mouth, doesn't it? Then you make a piece, it's about like this, double-sided piece that you can just stitch on. Let's just open this up again. Stitch onto the back, probably about there. Doesn't matter, it's not crucial. Just make sure that it's long enough to then come over and attach to a button or popper or whatever you want to do on this side. But actually I quite like the look of this as it is, and I think for the way I'm going to use it, it doesn't need to be all fully sealed up anyway. So yeah, I think the addition of some cute little beads would be nice. I've got some bright colour kind of wooden beads. I think that would be ideal, and it's nice. It's a nice way of enjoying the work that I've done. It feels lovely because of all that stitching. It's so handy that when you come to take it downstairs to wherever you're working on it or whatever, you can just spread it out on your work area and easily see everything that you've got. So yeah, I'm just going to hold it like that for my thumbnail. Before I finish up, one last thing to mention is about that giveaway. So the lucky winners are going to be, and there will be at least 6 lucky winners. The names will be drawn during the live on Saturday, 2nd of August. We'll be streaming live from here in my craft room from 8 PM to 10 PM UK time. Well, if you're there in the live chat, we'll tell you how you can join. Now, if you've got a problem being able to join the live chat, whether it's because the time zone makes it wrong for you. I know some of our friends in Australia and New Zealand have a huge problem because it's just too late for them. Or if you've got technical issues, so you're not able to type into the live chat, not the comments underneath, but the live chat during the stream, what you need to do is email me. If you're in Discord, you can message me. You could message me on Facebook. It's just not so reliable because I don't really do Facebook very much, except for the Arty-Farty Annie group. I don't really do Facebook, so Discord is better. But you can try me on Facebook if you can't do anything else. Or check in. The best thing is to have a look in the description box, and you'll find my link tree. It's called Linktree. Click on that. A whole lot of different things will come up: the Facebook group, Discord, links, Gumroad, all of that. Amongst them will be my email address. Email me. Let me know you're not going to be able to join the giveaway, and I'll put your name in the hat for you, because I don't want my regular viewers to miss out because they can't make it to that live, because this is such a fabulous giveaway. So we're going to be giving away this little scroll. It didn't come on the spool, but I think I will send the spool as well, the little stand-up spool that I made to go with it. One of these large pieces, so these are all done by Maggie herself, and then one of the smaller pieces as well. I haven't decided which one yet, but suitable to make into like a needlebook or something like that. And then I'm also going to make up packs of fabrics, so there'll be a piece of this Indian block printed fabric, a generous sized piece, so that you can try something like this yourself, and some of the smaller pieces that I used to make my own scroll, which I've now lost. Oh, it's because I put it in the bag. So I used it to make this scroll. A lot of them are kind of bright pinks and greens, things like that. So yes, it's mainly pinks and greens, beautiful colours. They were fabrics that Maggie sent me. So if you email me, let me know if you want to be in with a chance of winning the finished pieces or the fabric packs or both, and I'll happily put your name in the hat for you. Well, I really need to go now. My husband's going to be fading away from hunger because I need to go and make dinner. And thanks very much for joining me. It's been the most amazing month. A special thank you from all of us to my dear friend Maggie. You are such an inspiration, and mate, I don't think you realise how much we all love your work and how inspiring you are. So it's been really lovely to have the opportunity to share that with so many people and see lots of people enjoying it and doing their own thing with it. It's been a very happy month for me. So that's it from me for today. Thank you all very much for joining me, and I will see you again really soon. Bye.